All right, lads. So I know this is my first podcast live. We're going to be talking about motor racing, boys. Motor racing. Now, here's the thing. I know that most people watch lives in a replay, so I'm going to just continue on talking, and I don't even know if anybody's going to log on for the actual live. But anyway, that's fine, because I know people can, like I said, replay this over the next time. So guys, if you don't know who I am, some of you know who I am, following me, and I'm talking about a lot about motor racing. I'm talking about movies, love movies, and I'm going to be delving into the motor racing world, Formula One, guys, especially if you watch Drive to Survive Netflix. I used to be a former race car driver for 13 years, and I've raced all around the world, Ireland, England, the UK in general, England, Scotland, Wales, obviously, and Luxembourg, Belgium, Holland. I've raced in America and Canada, and I know the racing world inside and out, and I'm going to be absolutely delving into it. I have my podcast, The Peter Walsh Show, out there, and I'm really getting into the behind the scenes, because I'm calling a lot of bullshit on a lot of stuff I see on, especially Drive to Survive. However, I would say this though, Netflix Drive to Survive is 85% accurate. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people think that the guys are just acting. Right? Now, there's a couple of things you got to look at. Why would anybody put actors into a car that does 200 miles an hour without any experience? Now, I'm not having to go off actors, because I love acting and I used to try and be one. I love acting, so I'm not saying anything bad about actors, but it makes sense, right? Why would you put somebody who's an actor straight into never racing before and put them into the fastest cars on this planet? And they are the fastest cars on this planet. Yes, maybe you can get some cars that can do a straight line, but in general, the handling, everything, the engine speed, all of that, they are the fastest cars on this planet. There's no two ways about it. Also on my podcast, I go through the handling setup of a car. Because as a race driver, you really, really need to know how a race car operates. You'd be frightened to realize how many people don't actually know how to set up a car. There's got understeer. What is understeer? Understeer is when you turn into a corner and the car just goes straight on. Oversteer is when you turn in and it flicks, right? The back steps out straight away. Too much grip, or you can call it a flick, but it's oversteer they call it. We're going to be looking at the aerodynamical grip. We're going to be looking at the mechanical grip. Mechanical grip is when you've got springs in the car. Now, every road car, every race car has these. What are they? They're the springs, so when you go through corners or bumps, you get that soft little cushion that absorbs the impact. But this can also help for your handling on a car also. So in other words, we'll be looking at the setup for every Formula One track you go to. So you can have there's things called bump and rebound, right? So in the springs, you focus in on the bump. Bump is when you go down, the weight goes down. That can give you more grip. Then you got rebound on the way back up again. Now the rebound is focused on where the spring actually sits in its resting position. So let's say this is the spring. Now you got bump, it comes down, and then rebound brings it right back up to its normal position. Now the thing is, you can adjust that. So when it does go down, right, we'll go that way. When it does go down, it can come back up, but you can set the rebound where it doesn't go back to its, let's say, 0 position. All right, so it can go down to 0 to -10, down to bump, back up to 0, or it can go up maybe up to -5. But that's the thing. That's the art form of learning how to set up a car, and it's extremely important for racing drivers to learn this craft. Then you've got camber and caster. Camber is when, let's say if you're looking at the front tires, you've got camber, which is the tires sort of pointing out that way. Now why do they do that? Because what happens is when you're going through corners, once you load up, let's say you're going into a right-hand corner, what happens is the weight of the car is transferred onto the left side of the car, right? So it's kind of like you being in a road car where all of a sudden you're going around a corner, and if you're going through a right-hander, automatically in your road car, if you go too fast, you're getting swung to the left, right? Makes sense, right? Gravity. So it's the same thing in a road car. So when that happens, if you have the camber on, once the load is shifted over to the left side of the car, again now we're going through a right-hander, you're leaning to the left, once the weight has gone onto the left, then the tire is able to push down onto the track. Therefore, once you have friction on the track, you've got the full surface of the tire on the track, which therefore gives you more grip. That's the whole point of camber. Also with downforce plays into it, aerodynamical grip. Once the car gets pushed to the ground, the camber starts to offload and start to straighten up the tire. Therefore, you get more contact on the track surface. Therefore, technically, you get more grip. We're going to be looking at caster. Caster is when the tires are pointing in or pointing out. That can also affect. There's things called toe in and toe out. That's the tracking of the car. That can also designed to give you more grip. Kind of like the same thing, but we're going to get into more of that in detail. Downforce. Now we're looking at round 1 of Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend. It's going to be a big one, guys, I think. And I've done a preview for that for this Friday coming. And turn 11 is the key, because once they go through that left-hander, it's from 8th gear down to 4th. Once they transition through that corner, they're going extreme uphill. Now, going uphill, as many of we can understand, going uphill can slow you down, right? Gravity is pushing you back. So you've got to get a good run, catapult out of that corner, getting up that hill and keeping the speed, momentum, getting it nice and smooth to get through the next 2 really, really fast right-handers and keep the speed. Once you keep that momentum, you could possibly gain 1/10 or 2/10 of lap time going through that finish line. So it's very, very important to be very smooth around Bahrain. We're going to be delving into a lot more on this again as we go out throughout the year, and we're going to be breaking down. So for my timetable on my podcast on YouTube, it's going to be basically every Monday and every Friday, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about Formula One. We're going to be doing a preview and breakdown of the Formula One race. So example, for this weekend in Bahrain, we've got the race on Saturday. On the Friday, my podcast will come out, and that will be a preview of Bahrain. Then on the Monday after the race, that will be then the highlights, the breakdown of the weekend. And then the same for every other weekend as we go. If there's no Formula One race, we're going to be basically covering Netflix Drive to Survive. I'm going to be calling BS if I see any BS, or I'll go through my experiences as I used to race and just giving you more insight into the Formula One world. Because for instance, even in Drive to Survive, which is a really, really good show, sometimes they just don't have enough time to cover a lot of things. And that's very understandable for Netflix, right? And like, for instance, you see in season 1, you see Carlos Sainz, the Ferrari driver. He's got his manager, right? And then you see his manager on the screen and he's talking and he's this and blah, blah, right? And that's cool. But what does a manager do? What does he do every day? Is it a 5-day-a-week job? Is it a 7-day-a-week job? Is it a 6-day-a-week job? How much does he get paid? Normally they get paid 10 to 15% of the Formula One drivers' wages per year. So we're going to go through all that type of detail and breakdown throughout the year. So guys, that's the great thing about YouTube, is that this is my first live, and I love that, the fact that people can watch this over. So hopefully it's going to be good use to you guys, and hope to bring some value to the table. Thanks guys. See you again.